Hurricane Milton leaving behind a flooded Florida. Here is how the storm looked yesterday on recon flights. Whilst it was still a formidable Category 4, it ended up making landfall with winds of around 115 miles per hour, Category 3, and moved inland, producing huge amounts of rain on its northern side over the Tampa Bay area, and lots of lightning as well. Power outages numbering over 3 million in Florida right now as the recovery begins. This pictured from the Tampa area early this morning. Well, taking a look at the storm right now, it is leaving the coast of Florida. It's left just south of Cape Canaveral, I think it was in the end, and it is now a Category 1. It is well on its way to becoming a extratropical cyclone, 29.2 degrees north, 78.5 west. Well, it's still moving northeast at this point at about 18 miles per hour. This is the latest information as of 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time this October 10th. The last flash flood warnings are about to expire on the east coast of Florida, leaving behind the recovery now and aftermath of the storm, which battered the whole region and of course delivered a strong storm surge to Sarasota, Fort Myers, and down possibly towards Naples as well. Well, here are the wind fields, still quite large at this point, up to 180 nautical miles in the northern quadrants. A storm surge warning still in effect for Sebastian Inlet to Altamaha Sound, Georgia, and a hurricane warning still in effect for a big chunk of the east coast of Florida as well, from Sebastian Inlet to the Flagler-Volusia County line. It is 211 kilometers from Cape Canaveral, moving away now, 217 from Walker's Key in the Bahamas, 263 from Great Abaco, 269 from Grand Bahama, and 1362 now from Bermuda. It is going to start to get closer to those islands, Bermuda especially, as an extratropical storm. So, dangerous flooding continuing in many parts of central Florida, with both surge and rainfall related issues in the Tampa Bay and Fort Myers areas especially. Over 16 inches of rain has fallen in some areas due to the very high rain rates seen last night, and I was just looking at some pictures as well from Clearwater, looking a bit like that picture that we just saw there, actually without the wind now. Quite flooded, at least a couple of feet, probably 3 or 4 actually. Well, here is the wind field over the next few days as we watch the storm continue eastwards. It will turn post-tropical very soon, and then it will be an extratropical cyclone meandering through the Atlantic. Looks like it will take a bit of a southerly dive, so it looks like it might avoid Bermuda and then move off towards the northeast. Whatever's left of it, very little. And there it is, magically dissipated by the time we get to the middle of next week. Well, let's take a look at it right now in terms of the estimates. ADT, interestingly, the SSEC still going a borderline Category 2, but that's not really to be believed. National Hurricane Center still at 85 miles per hour. We think it's a bit lower now. We're not seeing very much promising in the velocity on radar. So we've put it at 75 miles per hour, still a Category 1 hurricane, and soon it will be post-tropical. This was the last National Hurricane Center cone, still those warnings over a wide area and a significant wind field, and as we mentioned there, just moving eastwards, just south of Bermuda, shouldn't be a significant threat to any other land areas once it clears the Bahamas. Well, this is the GFS model over the next few days. That other system on the right, that was Hurricane Leslie, moving off towards the northeast. It will probably slow down Milton as well. It's a bit in the way there, and you can see Milton there really getting stretched out to an S-shape, classic post-tropical cyclone appearance, frontal, and then being swallowed up by another big front up there towards the north, which starts to get pushed out towards the open Atlantic. Leslie over there as well, just to give a quick mention, getting close to the Azores, doesn't quite get there, it actually drops down towards the south again, turns post-tropical before it gets to Madeira, Portugal. Well, here's the reflectivity, and for a brief period there this morning, there is going to be some significant rainfall still continuing there for those southeastern states, and then continuing off towards the east, the rainfall gets less and less, more sparse and sporadic. Still a few little yellow bits there towards the end, but pretty much end game here for Milton right now. Watch again with that big bulk of reds just start to disintegrate a bit. Bermuda could get a significant amount of rain from that. We're probably looking at maybe 2 or 3 inches potentially from what's left of this storm, but it's not going to be anything spectacular for the island. Looking at rainfall totals, if it doesn't glitch out, we're still looking at maybe 2 or 3 further inches of rainfall for parts of Florida. We're talking maybe the Daytona Beach area and around there. Out to sea, up towards 8 inches and 9 inches of rain there as well for a little while longer, whilst the storm still has some energy. Then it starts dropping down, maybe around 3 inches for Bermuda, possibly less, and then continuing out towards the open Atlantic, where we just have general stuff going on. Sea surface temperatures continue to look decent ahead of the storm, but obviously with this big transition already occurring, it's quite immaterial. Temperatures though are still around 28 degrees Celsius. They'll drop to around 26 and 25 by the time it gets to Bermuda, so it never really had that long. There's still actually a warm pool to the east of Bermuda still too, up to about 27, 28 degrees once again, but the chance of reformation, given the storm's structure, is slim to none. But other systems could still profit from those SSTs around it. Talking in the future there. Well, this is the latest satellite imagery. The storm now moving offshore mostly. There is still some cloudiness, quite a bit of it over Florida, but it is just low-level immaterial cloud really. But the big bulk of the storm is mostly off the shore, but just a little bit there of storminess just about to leave. As we start to see first daylight imagery on these satellite pictures. Here's a wide shot showing the whole scene now. There's that other area to its east, that one that had a chance of forming the other day. They've put it down to 0% chance. That's just skated past Bermuda. Obviously it doesn't look very good. They did have a little chance of developing at one point though. But also looking further north, quite a few clouds pushing up through the mid-Atlantic as well as we look at this imagery. So some small amounts of rain up there as well, but nothing significant. And there's the radar, the storm really starting to move off the coast now. Most of the, if not all of the heavy rainfall is now offshore. And this is a bit of another viewpoint. Obviously the storm was already starting to look pretty poor when we were looking at it last night on the satellite imagery, and it's getting even worse, being pushed further and further the convection away from the center. That's all thanks to that very high wind shear, which was up about 35 knots before landfall, and now it's probably 40 plus. So the storm never really had a chance by the time it got to this point, and dry air really flooding in behind it there. Look at that, most of the west coast of Florida under a massive dry air mass now. So that's certainly going to be time to start the recovery. Looking at it again, moving northeasterly. Whether it's moving north of forecast still, I'm not sure at this point, but it certainly feels that way, that it is still moving a little bit further north, so we'll keep watching on that one. But this storm is mostly done. We've not got too much else to talk about. Still the surge will be felt with some strong winds pushing up against the east coast of Florida, especially north of the center, possibly still getting up to around 50 miles per hour at times, and maybe slightly higher gusts, but that will start to dissolve in the next few hours, and the storm will be well on its way and out of our hair at last. One of the great storms, clearly one of the top 5 strongest storms we've ever seen in the Atlantic, and finally it's coming to a close.
Become an ultimate fan today.